Hello everyone, and welcome back to Flying Through the Gyroplane Flying Handbook. In this video, we're going to continue our discussions from the 6th chapter, which is all about flight operations. And in particular, we're going to talk a little bit about basic flight maneuvers. Now, before we get started, I do need to apologize real quickly. It's been a little bit of time since my last video, and the reason for that, it's very simple. Something happened to my PC, and I ended up having to completely rebuild it, reinstall X-Plane and all of my aircraft, and also I even had to switch to a new software for recording all these videos because the newest version of my operating system wasn't happy with the old software that I was using. So basic flight maneuvers, what do those include? These are the kinds of things that we typically find ourselves doing when we're taking those first lessons. Now, first lessons, of course, in a gyroplane, often you don't leave the ground for a while, but once you get up there, you might do these kinds of things. So straight and level flight, how do I maintain an altitude and a heading? It sounds easy. It can be a little challenging at first. In general, if you're looking at something like a gyroplane and you want to keep it level, at a certain power setting, that will set your level speed. So if you want to continue level at that speed, then you're just good. But if you wanted to climb, you would have to add power. If you wanted to descend, you would subtract power. And of course, that is going to have your machine move up or down at approximately that same speed. Now, one of the things that I like to tell students a lot, I don't care what you're flying, if it's a gyro, if it's a plane, if it's a helicopter, trim the machine. It's going to make your life so much easier. I have so many students, they'll go home at the end of the day and they're like, why is my shoulder so sore? Well, the reason your shoulder's sore is because you never trimmed. Usually it's the shoulder that you use for the stick or yoke as appropriate. So that's straight and level. Pretty easy to do in theory, at least. One of the things you should realize about flying level in a gyro, if you're going at a low speed, the angle is going to be much, much greater that is made with the rotor. The air is always going to come up from the bottom of the rotor. Remember, that's a big thing with gyros, that you never want the air coming down through the rotor. You're going to get into a very bad situation quickly if that happens. So if you're going at a higher speed, that angle is going to be a lot less. And again, you have to be careful because you want to avoid that situation where the air is going down. So what if you want to climb? That's pretty easy. Again, if you want to climb at a certain speed, all you have to do is add power and you will climb at approximately your trimmed speed. The other thing that you should know about climbs is that a climb is going to rely on excess power. So whatever excess power you have above what is required to go straight and level at a certain speed is going to determine your climb rate. So if you don't have a lot of extra power, maybe you're flying a 912 powered machine with 100 horsepower and there's not a lot of excess, and you go to, let's say, a 914 where you have 115 horsepower available, you might think, well, my climb speed's going to go up by 10%. No, it's going to possibly go up by much more than that. And of course, if you jump to a 915 with 140 horsepower or even a 916 with 160 horsepower, you're going to have a pretty insane climb rate. So if you want to climb at the same speed, pretty much put in some power. Similarly, if you wanted to descend, you just reduce power. Could you nose it over and get into a descent? Yes. Could you temporarily climb by pulling back on the stick? Also yes. But that's not the preferred way to go. We don't like our airspeed banging against the limits. And then, of course, we probably want to turn. And how do you turn? Just like any aircraft, you tilt the lift. So you push the stick the direction you wish to turn. Now, just like other aircraft, sometimes that turn will be beautiful and sometimes it will be a little bit less beautiful. And what do I mean by that? As you turn, you want to always be going dead on into the wind. Now in an airplane, when you turn, you get this thing called adverse yaw. We don't really have that in rotorcraft, but we do still need to use a little bit of pedal input in order to trim out our turns. So if I'm doing a reasonable turn, a very small bank, I can just push into the turn. And if I don't put in enough of the pedal, then I will do what's called a slip. And basically, you are pointing the nose outward away from your turn. Similarly, if I put in too much pedal, now I'm going to do a skid. So in a skid, now the nose is pointed in toward the turn. Too much. And how do I know if I'm skidding or slipping? I look at the little piece of yarn on my windscreen in most cases, and that's going to tell me what's up. So those are our basic maneuvers. Common errors: improper coordination. You don't put in the pedal that you need, for example. Not doing your cross checks to look outside and look at your instruments. Or using faulty trim technique, most commonly no trim. Again, in a gyro, you're going to have a very sore shoulder if you don't learn. Well, that's all for this video. We'll see you in the next. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of flying. So for this video, we're going to use the Tensor. I'm already up in the air. I'm just going to do some basic maneuvers. Try to maintain my altitude right about 1700, say 700. Okay, so that's all for this video. We will see you in the next one.